Okay, boys and girls, it's Travis Wayne Goodsill, and it's time for a bedtime story about, or from the Book of Mormon, about the Armageddon Code. So that millions of years from now, when space aliens discover this planet and see that it was destroyed and void of all life forms, my YouTube video will still be spanning the airwaves, and they'll pick up on it and go, oh, this is how the world was destroyed. And so we're going to start in 1 Nephi chapter 1 verse 4. For it came to pass in the commencement of the first year of the reign of Zedekiah king of Judah, and we'll need to explain this because Babylon had already come in and conquered Jerusalem, the whole land of Israel. And what they did was they did not allow the king to be on the throne of Jerusalem anymore, and usurped the throne of Jerusalem by placing their own puppet king, Zedekiah, on the throne. And then Zedekiah was supposed to give tribute to Babylon on a regular basis, and so Jerusalem's going to be destroyed, as all of you who've read the book already know, that they were not paying tribute to Babylon. And so Babylon came back 11 years later, boom, destroyed Jerusalem. So that's the context for this. Jerusalem is the promised land. That's important to understand. And so Jerusalem, promised land. And the promised land was usurped by a foreign enemy who placed a puppet king on the throne. Alright, so now we get to my father Lehi, having dwelt at Jerusalem in all his days, the promised land. And in that same year there came many prophets, prophesying unto the people that they must repent, or the great city Jerusalem must be destroyed. You gotta give tribute to Babylon, Jerusalem's gonna be destroyed. And if you're not gonna, you'd have to read the Old Testament about the warnings from the prophets to the king and that. But we're talking about the Book of Mormon code here. We're not going to go beyond any of that, because we're not going to talk about how Nephi wasn't born at this point and would have been at the most 11 years old when he obtains the plates and is on the scene and talking about his experience. But we're not going to get into that. Sticking with what the text tells us. So, first year of the reign of Zedekiah, when Babylon comes in, destroys everything, places the puppet king on the throne of the promised land. Already Mormons are going, I never realized, oh my, wait till we get going. We just started. Alright, so now chapter 2. Oh, nope, not chapter. Yeah, chapter 2. Alright, so, for behold, in verse 1, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto my father, yea, even in a dream, and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Lehi, because of the things which thou hast done, and because thou hast been faithful and declared unto this people the things which I commanded thee. Behold, they seek to take away your life. And it came to pass that the Lord commanded my father, even in a dream, that he should take his family and depart into the wilderness. And so here we see the destruction is about to happen because of the puppet king who was placed on the throne, and prophet is telling his family, we need to depart the promised land in Jerusalem, and they go to a new promised land. They call it the promised land. So they're in the promised land, it's going to be destroyed, they then go to a new promised land. And the new promised land, therefore, is New Jerusalem. Catching on yet? They build a Temple of Solomon in New Jerusalem, but we got to get there. So this is phase 1. Let's go to phase 2 now. 2nd Nephi. Chapter 5 and 1 to 5. Okay, now pay attention. Promised land of Jerusalem gonna be destroyed. A group leaves to the new promised land, the New Jerusalem. Behold, it came to pass that I, Nephi, and there on the new promised land, New Jerusalem, did cry much unto the Lord my God because of the anger of my brethren. But behold, their anger did increase against me, insomuch that they did seek to take away my life. If you're not familiar with birthright and blessing of the firstborn child, you're not going to fully understand what was just talked about there. The firstborn son is Laman, not Nephi. But those Mormons who've read their Book of Mormon and gone to seminary, gone to institute, gone to church, you all know Nephi was the younger brother. And Laman was the birthright blessing son. The right to rule as king, or the tribal leader, and to be the high priest, Melchizedek, Melech, king, Zadok, high priest, belonged to Laman. And so Nephi, the younger brother, is Jacob, which is in Hebrew usurper, because the Lord favors Nephi rather than Laman. However, in verse 3, yea, they did murmur against me, saying, our younger brother thinks to rule over us, and we have had much trial because of him. Wherefore, now let us slay him, that we may not be afflicted more because of his words. For behold, we will not have him to be our ruler. For it belongeth to us, the birthright blessing. It's actually Laman who it belongs to, but he's sort of using us as if it's a group, a party group. Ooh. Who are the elder brethren, to rule over this people. Now, let's see, how far am I going? To 5. Now I would not write upon these plates all the words which they murmured against me, but it sufficeth me to say that they did seek to take away my life. And it came to pass that the Lord did warn me that I, Nephi, should depart from the promised land, the new promised land, the new Jerusalem, from them, and flee into the wilderness. Just like that Egyptian tale that's spoken of in John's Revelation chapter 12. We're not going into the Messiah. I've already done that series. And all those who would go with me. So you see the pattern? Lehi, now Nephi, same pattern. Okay, phase 3. Mosiah, chapter 29. And it looks like I'm reading a big chunk here, so bear with me. Now when Mosiah, and he is the king, had done this, he sent out throughout all the land among all the people, desiring to know their will concerning who should be their king. It's an election year. And it came to pass that the voice of the people came, saying, we are desirous that Aaron thy son should be our king and our ruler. He's the birthright blessing son. He was voted by the majority of the people. 3. Now Aaron had gone up to the land of Nephi. Therefore the king could not confer the kingdom upon him. Neither would Aaron take upon him the kingdom, neither were any of the sons of Mosiah willing to take upon them the kingdom. Therefore King Mosiah sent among the people, yea, even a written word sent he among the people, and these were the words that were written, saying, Behold, O ye my people, or my brethren, for I esteem you as such, I desire that ye should consider the cause which ye are called to consider. For ye are desirous to have a king, and the Iowa caucus had no winner because of an app failure. It's right here. Haven't you read it? Now I declare unto you that he to whom the kingdom doth rightly belong has declined, and will not take up upon him the kingdom. So the birthright blessing son does not get to be the successor. So what do we do? Now if there should be another appointed in his stead, behold, I fear there would rise contentions among you. So the person who won the vote does not get to be the king. Another king would take over, because the popular vote candidate lost. And who knoweth but what my son, to whom the king doth rightly belong, should turn and be angry, and publish a book, and draw away a part of this people after him, which would cause wars and contentions among you, which would be the cause of shedding much blood and perverting the way of the Lord, yea, and destroy the souls of many people. Now I say unto you, let us be wise and consider these things, for we have no right to destroy my son. Neither should we have any right to destroy another if he should be appointed in his stead, like a usurped king Zedekiah. And if my son should turn again to his pride, or Nephi, and vain things, he would recall the things which he had said and claim his right to the kingdom, which would cause him and also this people to commit much sin. And now let us be wise and look forward to these things, and do that which will make for the peace of this people. Therefore I will be your king the remainder of my days. Nevertheless, let us appoint judges to judge this people according to our law. Wait a minute. He's talking about a new form of government during an election crisis on the promised land, the New Jerusalem, a new form of government. Let's see, where did I leave off? And we will appoint wise men to be our judges that will judge this people according to the commandments of God. Constitution? Now it is better that a man should be judged of God than of man, for the judgments of God are always just, but the judgments of man are not always just. Therefore, if it were possible that ye could have just men to be your kings, who would establish the laws of God, and judge the people according to his commandments, yea, ye could have men for your kings, and who would do even as my father Benjamin did for this people. I say unto you, Ben-Ammon, I won't go into it. I won't give you the Paleo-Hebrew. I say unto you, because we're not going over the Messiah. If this could always be the case, then it would be expedient that ye should always have kings to rule over you. And even I myself have labored with all the power and faculties which I have possessed, to teach you the commandments of God, and to establish peace throughout the land, that there should be no wars nor contentions, no stealing, no plundering, nor murdering, nor any manner of iniquity. And now we're in 15. And whosoever has committed iniquity, him have I punished according to the crime which he has committed. Amazing. According to the law which has been given to us by our fathers. Constitution. Now I say unto you, that because all men are not just, it is not expedient that ye should have a king or kings to rule over you. Kings? For behold, how much iniquity doth one wicked king cause to be committed. So an election failure, the winner does not get to be the king. So a hypothetical here of a wicked king getting placed on the throne in place of the popular vote winner. And what great destruction! Jerusalem destroyed by Babylon, the Nephites in the New Jerusalem threatened with destruction by the Lamanites. Yeah, remember King Noah? Oh, Noah, the one from the Bible days of the Ark of the Covenant, which Jesus in Matthew 24 says, so as in the latter days, so as in the days of Noah. His wickedness and his abominations, and also the wickedness and abominations of his people. Behold, what great destruction did come upon them. And also because of their iniquities, they were brought into bondage. So destruction didn't necessarily mean murder per se. There were people left to be put into slavery, into captivity, into bondage. And no safe words were allowed, I'm imagining. And were it not for the interposition of their all-wise Creator, and this because of their sincere repentance, they must unavoidably remain in bondage until now. But behold, he did deliver them, because they did humble themselves and cry mightily, and deliver them out of bondage. And thus the Lord worked with his power in all cases among the children of men, extending the arm of mercy towards them that put a trust in him. Now behold, in 21, I say unto you, ye cannot dethrone an iniquitous king, save it be through much contention. Sort of like impeachment hearings. And the shedding of much blood. World War VI, as Trump called it. For behold, he has his friends in iniquity, and he keepeth his guards about him, and he teareth up the laws of those who have reigned in righteousness before him, the Constitution. And he trampleth under his feet the commandments of God, and he enacteth laws. travel ban, as one example. And he sendeth them forth among his people. The border separation of families, putting babies in cages. Yea, laws after the manner of his own wickedness. And whosoever doth not obey his laws, he causeth to be destroyed. And whosoever doth rebel against him, he will send his armies against them to war. It's against the law to protest. And if he can, he will destroy them. And thus an unrighteous king doth pervert the ways of all righteousness. And now behold, I say unto you, it is not expedient that such abominations should come upon you. Therefore, choose you by the voice of this people judges, that ye may be judged according to the laws which have been given you by our fathers, which are correct, life, liberty, property, and which were given them by the hand of the Lord. Promised land, New Jerusalem. Okay, and then 27 to 29. And if the time comes that the voice of the people doth choose iniquity, and vote to acquit at 2 p.m. today, in less than 3 hours it begins, then is the time that the judgments of God will come upon you. Yea, then is the time he will visit you with great destruction, even as he has hitherto visited this land. He's talking about the Jaredites, the struggle of kingship with the Jaredites. And now, if ye have judges, and they do not judge you according to the law which has been given, ye can cause that they might be judged of a higher judge. Again, he's giving a suggestion for how to promote a new government during a crisis of kingship. If your higher judges do not judge righteous judgments, ye shall cause a small number of your lower judges should be gathered together, and they shall judge your higher judges according to the voice of the people. Okay. Next, 3 Nephi 7. Isn't this fun, boys and girls? Are you asleep yet? Alright, 1 to 14. Now behold, I will show unto you that they did not establish a king over the land, but in this same year, yea, the 30th year, they did destroy upon the judgment seat, yea, did murder the chief judge of the land. Sort of like John F. Kennedy, huh? And the people were divided one against the other into Democrats and Republicans, and they did separate one from another into tribes, Democrat and Republican. And now we have progressives. And we have the Tea Party. Every man according to his family and his kindred and friends. And thus they did destroy the government of the land. And every tribe did appoint a chief or a leader over them. And thus they became states and leaders of states, tribes. Now behold, there was no man among them, save he had much family and many kindreds and friends, population in each of the states. Therefore their states, tribes, became exceedingly great. Now all this was done, and there were no wars as yet among them. And all this iniquity had come upon the people, because they did yield themselves unto the power of Satan. Dun, 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 shout. And the regulations of the government were destroyed. And ever since the assassination, successive presidents have chipped away of the authority of Congress to give the presidents greater powers. Because of the secret combination, Gadianton robbers, Kishkumen, kingmen, of the friends and kindreds of those who murdered the prophets. Joseph Smith was murdered, wasn't he? And they did cause a great contention in the land, insomuch that the more righteous part of the people had nearly all become wicked. Yea, there were but few righteous men among them. And thus 6 years had not passed away since the more part of the people had turned from their righteousness, like a dog to his vomit. Didn't a senator talk about that not too long ago? Or was it a congressman of the Republican Party? Or like the sow to her wallowing in the mire. Now this secret combination which had brought so great iniquity upon the people did gather themselves together, and did place at their head, they're establishing a king, a man whom they called in Hebrew usurper, Jacob. And they did call him their king. Therefore he became a king. So someone who was not voted in the popular vote becomes the usurping king. And he became king over this wicked band of wicked band. And he was one of the chiefest who had given his voice against the prophets who testified against Jesus. I am the chosen one. I am the only one who can deal with China. And it came to pass that they were not so strong in number as the tribes of the people. Again, not put in by the popular vote, thus those who are against him are more numerous, who were united together, save it were their leaders did establish their laws, everyone according to his tribe. Nevertheless, they were enemies. Notwithstanding, they were not a righteous people. Yea, they were united in the hatred of those who had entered into a covenant to destroy the government. Again, the same pattern throughout the Book of Mormon. We're going to 14. Therefore, Jacob, seeing that their enemies were more numerous than they, he being the king of the band, therefore he commanded his people that they should take their flight into Canada, into the northernmost part of the land, and there build up unto themselves a kingdom until they were joined by dissenters. For he flattereth them, Russia's also north of us, for he flattereth them that there would be many dissenters, and they became sufficiently strong to contend with the tribes of the people, and they did so. So ICE, TSA, the FBI, CIA, military, police departments. And it came to pass in the 31st year that they were divided into tribes, every man according to his family, kindreds, and friends. Nevertheless, they had come to an agreement that they would not go to war one with another. California does not go to war against Oregon, but they were not united as to their laws. Every state has their own laws. We already see that. And their manner of government, for they were established according to the minds of those who were their chiefs and their leaders. Yeah, you can see that in Utah. But they did establish very strict laws. Warning on porn. If you saw my video this morning. That one tribe should not trespass against another, insomuch that in some degree they had peace in the land. Nevertheless, their hearts were turned from the Lord their God, and they did stone the prophets, as Stephen was stoned, and did cast them out from among them. Alright, and the final section, or not the final part in this third section, is 3 Nephi 8. Starting in verse 3 to 25. And the people began to look with great earnestness for the sign which had been given by the prophet Samuel, the Lamanite. So he's not a Utah Mormon. Yea, for the time that there should be darkness for the space of 3 days over the face of the land. And there began to be great doubtings and disputations among the people, notwithstanding so many signs had been given, as prophesied. And it came to pass in the 34th year, in the first month, on the 4th day of the month, there arose... Oh, they were so close. That was last month on the 4th. Oops, so close. There arose a great storm, a snowstorm, burying Utah and pushing eastward, such as one as never had been known in all the land. And Travis had to wear his boots as he traveled to the courthouse to deliver the final blow that ended the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And there was also a great and terrible tempest, and there was terrible thunder, insomuch that it did shake the whole earth, as if it were about to divide asunder. And there were exceedingly sharp lightnings, such as never had been known in all the land. And the city of Salt Lake City, Zarahemla, did take fire. And the city of Moroni did sink into the depths of the sea, and the inhabitants thereof were drowned. And the earth was carried up upon the city of Moroniha, that in the place of the city there became a great mountain. And there was a great and terrible destruction in the land southward. But behold, there was a more great and terrible destruction in the land northward. For behold, the whole face of the land was changed, because of the tempest and the whirlwinds, and the thunderings and the lightnings, and the exceedingly great quake of the whole earth. And the highways were broken up, and the level roads were spoiled, and many smooth places became rough, and the great and notable cities were sunk, and many were burned, and many were shaken till the buildings thereof had fallen to the earth, and the inhabitants thereof were slain, and the places were left desolate. And there were some cities which remained, but the damage thereof was exceedingly great, and there were many in them who were slain. And there were some who were carried away in the whirlwind, and whither they went no man knoweth, save they know that they were carried away. And thus the whole face of the earth, whole earth became deformed, because of the tempests, and the thunderings, and the lightnings, and the quaking of the earth. And behold, the rocks were rent in twain, they were broken up upon the face of the whole earth, insomuch that they were found in broken fragments, and in seams and in cracks upon all the face of the land. And it came to pass that when the thunderings and the lightnings and the storm and the tempest and the quakings of the earth did cease, for behold, they did last for the space of 3 hours. And it was said by some that the time was greater. Nevertheless, all these great and terrible things were done in about the space of 3 hours. And then, behold, the Senate judged and acquitted Trump. And there was darkness upon the face of the earth, the land. And it came to pass that there was thick darkness upon all the face of the land, insomuch that the inhabitants thereof, who had not fallen, could feel the vapor of darkness. And there could be no light because of the darkness, neither candles, neither torches, neither could there be fire kindled with their fine and exceedingly dry wood, so there could not be any light at all. Such was the eclipse. There was not any light seen, neither fire nor glimmer, neither the sun, nor the moon, nor the stars. The sun shall be darkened, and the moon turned to blood. For so great were the mists of darkness which were upon the face of the land. And it came to pass that it did last for the space of 3 days, that there were no light seen, and there was a great mourning and howling and weeping among all the people continually. Yea, great were the groanings of the people because of the darkness and the great destruction which had come upon them. And in one place they were heard to cry, saying, Oh, that we had repented before this great and terrible day, that we would have followed Joseph Smith's prophetic warning that the Constitution would hang by a thread, and that we, the elders of Israel, would rise up to save it before that voting day in the Senate at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, 2020, on the 5th of February. Because of the, let's see. And then would our brethren have been spared, and they would not have been burned in the great city of Salt Lake City, Utah, unless it's D.C. And in another place they were heard to cry and mourn, saying, Oh, that we had repented. Maybe it's both, because it's a dual thing going on here. Great and terrible day, and had not killed and stoned Joseph Smith and cast them out. And then would our mothers and our fair daughters and our children have been spared, and not buried up in the great city Moronihah. And thus were the howlings of the people great and terrible. And then 1,000,000 years later, aliens from another planet come to Earth and see the destruction, and they find a YouTube video by one TWG talking about how the people were destroyed, the Jaredites, when group of Limhi, who was the son of King Noah, found those plates. Alrighty, so good night.